Hello and welcome again to our program Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess, and we have a very special program with two guests tonight. We're treading on some new water, and we hope you enjoy what we're going to present to you this evening. But first, let's thank our sponsors, Carpenter Nevada LLC, importer of fine Portuguese olive oil, balsamic vinegar, and international teas, as well as Villa Bass Deli and Cafe, home of Pete's famous Bass Chorizo. So, let's introduce our guest tonight. We have Candace Stewart. Candace has been a guest on the program before, but I asked her to come back because of her knowledge and experience just with life and with what she does. And we have Joetta Brown, who has also been a guest in our show, and Joetta has been asked back because of her experience and her involvement in community work. So, Candace, tell us just briefly what it is that you do here in Carson City now.
I'm the program coordinator for the Dementia Resource Center of Northern Nevada, which is housed at The Lodge, which is an assisted living facility in Carson City on Long Street.
Okay.
And the Dementia Resource Center is here to support anyone in the community that has family members with any type of dementia. We have support groups, and we have workshops, and we have all kinds of things, counseling, information available.
Thank you. And Joetta, tell us a little bit about what you're involved with right now.
I'm the regional director for the Western region for the National Alliance for Retired Americans, and I'm also a planning commissioner for Douglas County.
All right, thank you, ladies. So they come with a broad range of experiences. And we have taken your questions, which have been coming in since the show's first programming in January. And we are just going to draw randomly out of the basket, and we're going to address these questions because as women, we're pretty good at networking, and we're also very good at sharing, I think, at this time in our lives. So these questions may reflect younger people, they may reflect retired people, all kinds of circumstances and issues. So the first one I'm opening up is an actual letter from Hawaii. And this was sent via email. And this is a letter from Phyllis, who now is in Carson City, but she's a native of Hawaii, and she asked a rather intriguing question. She happened to be watching the program one evening when we were talking with a guest who had come originally from Thailand and had lived in several different cultures. And so the question that Phyllis is asking, if we're ever going to have world peace, do we need to understand the cultures that we live in now as well as those that we're dealing with elsewhere? It's kind of a global question, has a lot of ramifications. So I guess, ladies, I'll let you kind of ponder that for a second. But Phyllis believes, apparently, that the more we know about each other, not only in our own country, and the United States is so big, culturally so diversified, so many immigrants we are a nation of immigrant people. But we need to get to know peoples from other lands as well. And we're neighbors with Canada, we're neighbors with Mexico, and we travel a lot. So is there a chance for world peace based upon our relationships about getting to know other cultures? That's a very broad question, very broad. How do you feel about that, Joetta?
First of all, we need to have compassion and tolerance for people that are different from us, particularly the person that is not like our mirror image. So that might make them different. Without tolerance and compassion, there will always be a focus on our differences rather than our similarities, because we all have some of the same things. We all want peace in the world. The majority of us do. We want things for our children, all of us, our family. We want to have less violence. Our world is in a state of violence now, particularly in countries that we can see on television. We may not understand those cultures. So that's when tolerance and compassion for just humanity needs to be broadened so that we understand one another, similarities more than the differences that we think we have.
And I think that you're also implying there, Joetta, that it begins at a very young age in our homes as well as in our school systems. So when we talk about that passion, compassion, and tolerance, it has to start with the family members and then start with our neighbors as we come out that front door. And learn to, and we've talked about this in other areas with other guests, to have an allowance there that says, okay, before I really start to condemn and to criticize and to be judgmental, let me just listen and look for a while. Let me begin to understand what it is they're saying, what they're showing me. How do you feel about that, Candace? Is world peace achievable?
I think it is. I think it's almost, I think wars happen, it's almost like bullying on a global phenomenon,
Scale.
global scale, exactly. You do need to listen, you do need to be aware, you do need to learn about other people and their beliefs so that you know how to approach them, how to communicate with them.
And yet, we don't want to be taken, I don't think any culture wants to be walked on or stepped on. And in the world of politics, globally speaking, I mean, other nations have been dominated since the very beginning by stronger nations, by warring nations. I think in my own experience of living out of the country, that there has to be strength as well as intelligence and tolerance and compassion.
I agree.
So that there's a framework where we can abide and talk. I'm just taking a specific example. When the Geneva Conference provided the Geneva Rules of Law, I mean, we used to see swords being laid down, presentation by the enemy, by the loser, okay, of their war weapons. It was all dignified. And we certainly have pulled away from some of those formalities, and we've gotten just real nasty and real terrorist-minded in many respects. But I'm not sure, and this is in deference to Phyllis's question, I'm not sure that world peace is achievable just because of the way human beings were made. But I agree with Joetta, and I agree with both of you, that we can be the ambassadors. We can be the people who say, I choose to live with tolerance and compassion. I don't choose to be overrun.
True.
But I choose to listen and to learn. Okay, let's move on. Here's another question we have. Let's see. This is from Julie from Sparks, Nevada. I am 19 years old, a viewer of Women to Women. Thank you very much, Julie. Okay. And I want to ask the panel, what kind of future do I have here in Northern Nevada for a good job? She's 19. She doesn't tell us whether she's a student, whether she's in the process of learning at a higher level. But she's asking, what kind of prospects does Northern Nevada offer to a young 19-year-old woman?
I think it depends on her passion. It depends on what, sometimes you don't find that until later. I know that happened with me. So that's a interesting question.
Yeah, do you sense in that question that she might be wondering, should I stay in Nevada or not? I'm getting a sense that maybe she's also economically wise as to where Nevada stands in the nation.
Where was she from again? I forgot.
Sparks.
Sparks. Okay, not
Sparks.
too far away. The job market across the country is in a flux right now. And young people coming out of college, going into their senior year in high school, are looking for that support to prepare them for the future. And the future is not dim. The future is always what you make it as an individual. So you might have your mindset on being in one sort of a job category, then you might need to look in another one. And in every high school and every college, there is a counselor that you can go in free, sit down and talk with them to find out what your skills are and what you should be looking at. Don't lose hope.
And I think you're also, those words of encouragement are to stay in the research area, okay, for yourself. It's her responsibility. Julie, it's your responsibility that if you're really interested in staying in Nevada for family reasons or friendship reasons or just because you love the beautiful scenery around Lake Tahoe, we can all identify with that. But at the same time, we do know from statistics that those who have higher education are far more likely to have a life that is at least financially and promotionally better. They have the better statistics going for them. So if you're 19 and you're in college, stay put. Finish that degree.
And we need young people like her to stay in Nevada. We need
Oh,
them
yes.
here. Yes.
Yes, yes.
And don't limit yourself, you know. Look around and find out what it is that you would like to be involved in. A lot of times things evolve into a job.
Yes, and at 19, she's going to be a different person at 22 and 23 than
Correct.
she is at 19. And certainly a different person at 27 or 28 than at 19.
Right. And she could consider volunteering.
Yes, in different areas
That's
of
right.
to get experience. That's
Right.
right. That's right. Okay, we hope that that helps, Julie. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening's program. All right, there's no name to this. How do you balance time when you work from home? How do you balance time when you work from home? What's that question suggesting?
I tried to do that for a while. I tried to transcribe
Yes.
legal things at home, and my little area that I set up was across from the kitchen where the dirty dishes were in the sink, and I would get up, and you really have to focus. You really have to dedicate a certain amount of time. You have to dedicate a space that is just specifically for whatever it is that you're doing.
I've never I've never done a job at home. I do my homework preparations for my lessons, but going to a place, in this case, a school building, traveling there, it's almost downtime that you need to have to kind of think ahead and think, maybe after school's finished, maybe I'd like to go out and see a movie, etc. And when you're already at home, it may be difficult because you're in the same place, the same locale, all the time. I don't know. Joy, did you ever have that experience?
I think you should treat the job that you're doing at home the same as if you were in an office.
Right.
And you schedule your time, including your breaks and your lunch, and not have your lunch at your desk and go somewhere else, even if it's outside.
Right.
And that downtime is so important, getting up and getting away from that computer or whatever you're using as a work instrument.
Right, our brains can become deadened as well as our fannies,
That's
okay,
true.
from sitting there
That's
too
true.
long. And I just think that, as human beings, we're creatures that work well with a framework around us, okay, and a schedule. It adds a variety to our day. So, ladies, I want to say thank you very much for this first half of the program. We have a lot more questions to go, and we'll be right back, so keep your brains tuned on, okay? See you in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Frederick, founder and executive director of Pets of the Homeless.
Pets of the Homeless is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that provides pet food and veterinary care to the homeless and less fortunate in local communities.
We're a national organization with over 200 collection sites across the United States, one in Australia and a few in Canada. Our national organization, since 2008, we've collected almost 50 tons of pet food that has been distributed through various organizations across the country, like food banks, homeless shelters, and soup dining rooms. With donations from the public, we are able to provide these kinds of wellness clinics across the country. Since 2008, our wellness clinics have provided over 2,500 animals with shots and medical care.
I'm Dr. Woody Allen. I'm a semi-retired veterinarian in Carson City, and I have worked with the Pets of the Homeless for about 4 or 5 years now. And when Genevieve Frederick started the program, our hospital was the first hospital to help her with collecting dog food and finding people that needed our help. On this website, you'll be able to find sources where you can get food on a regular basis if you need it.
With donations from the public, we're able to provide homeless shelters with crates, bowls, cleaning materials, so that homeless with pets can come into homeless shelters and get the services that they need to get out of homelessness.
If you are in need of food, supplies, or services for your pet, or would like to donate or volunteer, visit petsofthehomeless.org.
When a disaster strikes our region, will you be ready? Learn about sheltering in place. Since each emergency is different, make sure you plan for alternate routes away from your neighborhood. Plan meeting places and long-distance phone numbers if you are separated. Assemble food, water, medicines for at least 3 days, and a portable radio to stay informed. Remember, make a plan, assemble a kit, stay informed, be ready. For For more information, contact your local emergency manager.
Welcome back to the second half of our program. We're here with Candace Stewart and Joetta Brown, and we're taking questions from our viewers, from our listeners that have come in since January. And we have been doing 2 panel shows. This is the last of the 2. And we just thank you so much for everything that you are paying attention to and curious about. All right, our next question, ladies. What can I do to help my parent or relative stop smoking? This is from a child, or it could be a young teenager, it could be a middle schooler, could be an elementary. But I thank that child for listening. What can I do to help my parent or relative stop smoking? That's a biggie with a lot of kids.
It is.
There's some strong feelings here. We don't know whether it's a boy or a girl, but apparently that child is on to something in the way of information about smoking. And they don't know how to deal with it at home with a mother or a father whom they love very much,
Right.
watching them inhale carcinogenic materials.
All the time.
I don't know. I have never smoked. I don't have a child who smokes. But the influence was always there around me. Joetta, have you ever had a child that smoked or
No.
that you knew
I don't.
someone?
My husband doesn't. But I grew up in a smoke environment. My mother smoked very heavily, and she died early, not from lung cancer or anything, but I'm sure what her smoking had something
Contributed.
to do with the cancer that she did have. So I have secondary smoke. Now, I never thought like this young person, how do I sit down and tell my mother she shouldn't smoke? Because it's something that there's a passion and obsession. It is a form of narcotic, and it is health. I mean, it's horrible for your health.
Yes, it is.
Now that I look back, I wish I had done what this young person's asking
Yes.
us about. I think I would have just sit down with my mother in a quiet time and maybe showed her a picture. In those days, we didn't have the picture that you see on television now, the person that smoked and how they
Yes.
look now.
Yes.
And just talk to her about our health and all of us around her and her smoking.
How about you, Candace? Have you ever had a family member that smoked in your home and you had the residual, the secondhand smoke that you had to deal with family members?
I was very young. My dad smoked, but he passed away at 41, and so I was like 9.
Again, young.
But I do remember the smell, and I remember we had a basement, and it was kind of his man cave, and I remember the smell of that from the old smoke. But it's an addiction, and so you really, you have to kind of treat it that way. As with other addictions, sometimes the person has to want to stop.
Right.
And yet this child or this young person could be the first in a long line of helpers, just bringing it to the attention of a parent that, Mom, Dad, this is bothering me because I love you.
I don't want to lose you.
And I'm
Right.
learning in school about all the health issues that are that cling with smoking, and I don't want to lose you. I care. My first husband was an avid smoker, 5 packs a day.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
5 packs a day. And when our son came along, he was still smoking. And I was not a smoker, and I asked him to consider, the environment of the house, because your draperies, your furniture, it takes on the color of the nicotine. So I said, from now on, would you please either smoke in the garage or just smoke out in the driveway so that our son doesn't inhale this? Because anything that's powerful, it has to have an effect if you really stop and think about it. And today, thank goodness, we can go back and select the old movies. Everybody was smoking, men and women. It was the thing. It was considered very chic, international, a must. But we don't feel that way, and we know why. So this little girl, this little boy, or this young teenage girl or son of a family with a parent who smokes, you're on the right track by just sitting down, as Joetta has introduced, and have a discussion. Let them know how much you really care. And that could be the first, it may take them some time to think about it, but that could be the first in a long line of steps that are necessary. All right.
Agreed.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Okay, let's see where this question comes from. This is from Nell from Carson City. Nell says, I'm a 70-year-old widow in generally good health, but I need to supplement my income. I am well educated. Does any company hire such people as me? Okay, 70, a widow. Definitely she'll be on Medicare, she'll be on Social Security probably, and she wants to supplement that income. Now, do you think she's looking to apply her education? Do you think that she's willing to take a menial job? Do you think that she's willing to take any kind of work? Or is she inquiring, does anybody hire 70-year-olds anymore?
And they do, part-time. And then if she is getting Social Security, she needs to be careful not to work over the allowed amount each year, so she's not penalized. But if she has access to a computer, she should go online and shop for a job, part-time job in her community.
Now, when you say shop for a job, Joanna, what do you mean? Are there certain sites, locations online?
There are certain websites that for your community, like Carson City, Douglas County. She can also go to the local junior college. They have a job placement there, and try there. Or her local grocery store. Part-time people work there. Walmart is notorious for hiring older people on a part-time basis.
Yes.
There's a wide range of places that she could go. Again, we're back with jobs.
Yes.
And they are tight. And I don't think people consider jobs now menial. They just want a job, period, because so many people have been out of work for so long. So the field is pretty tight for some areas. But she needs to get out in her community and find out what's available.
Right, and if she doesn't have the computer in her home, she certainly could go to a library, a public place, and access there.
Right.
So if you have that energy and you're in good health, and 70 really in our day and age is not all that old.
No.
Especially if you're talking about someone who is versatile, educated, is a good communicator, a good writer, a good thinker. There's work.
There is work, and there are agencies that hire people to be friendly visitors for people who can't get out of their home. And home health agencies, you don't have to have a healthcare background to do that. You can just come in and visit. You can give maybe the caregiver a break. So that's something she might want to look into too.
And you know what brings to mind, Candace, right now? Sometimes you just need to get your foot in a door as a 70-year-old, and that will lead to something that is of monetary value to you.
Volunteering, I think, is such an important aspect for that, because you can kind of pick and choose what you think that you really would be interested in, and a lot of times a door will just open, you know, because you're there at the right time.
And it's when you're least expecting it that that door opens.
That small window of opportunity happens.
Okay, good discussion, gals. All right, how do I grow older gracefully? How do I grow older gracefully on Social Security? Okay, that's a good question, because everyone's going to have to face that sooner or later.
Correct.
No one's exempt. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, maybe it's a two-part question. First of all, how do I grow old gracefully? And that's wow, that has a lot of impact in anybody's life, because sometimes circumstances that happen to us, regardless of our age, whether it happens to us in our midlife, early on, we can carry a lot of feelings of bitterness, despondency, depression. So how do we grow old gracefully?
I think we have to be our own best friend. I think that is so important. There are people in your life that you love, that you're close to, but who can be kinder to you than you? You know, who you need to love yourself. You need to
appreciate who
you are, and allow yourself to live the life that you have lived, accept the life that you have lived, and decide where you want to go with it now.
How do you live life gracefully on Social Security?
That's another question.
That's another question, right?
That could be difficult when you've worked all your life and you think that now you're going to draw Social Security. It's not going to provide the same lifestyle that you had when you went to work.
And you know, that's a shock
adjustment.
to many.
It is a shock. It is a shock.
When you retire from a very good paying job and you decide that, okay, I think between Social Security and perhaps some small investments, or perhaps if I work along with my Social Security, life can go on pretty much the same as usual, and that does not happen.
No.
So maybe what we're saying, gals, is that before we reach retirement age, we need to start thinking about, okay, Social Security, perhaps a pension from where I was working will be coming along, but I need to more or less take another look at what do I expect out of retirement? Do I have to live at a certain level to be happy? Or can I do without a lot of things and still be happy? But the key is recognizing that Social Security is not the same as a paycheck.
No, it isn't. It doesn't provide the same lifestyle that you had when you were working every day. So we have to prepare for retirement, which a lot of people do. Look at what happened not too long ago to some of the 401ks.
Yes.
We were hit with that. You think that, okay, my money's safe, and it's not safe. And you're going to add it to whatever other retirement you might have, and Social Security if you're going to draw on that. Things happen that you have no control over.
Right. And just as the 401ks went south, so did a lot of bank stock investments in 2008, 2009. And people were wiped out of all of those future plans that they thought they had solidified.
Right.
Look at the people at Enron.
Yes.
Okay, that went belly up. So I think we need to remain, one key is remain flexible in your thinking. And just what does it take to make you happy? Right. We need to ask that question of ourselves.
I think our society doesn't focus on the beauty of aging. It's always the young person, size 3, with curly hair. And as you get older, you're not size 3 anymore. So in each age, there is something beautiful, and we have to find that beauty. I agree with you in what you said. Yeah.
You know, my mother was an example, to me at least, of how to age gracefully. She lived to be 98, and it was only during the last 3 weeks of her life that she really had any difficulties, but her mind was completely there. And she said to me, I suppose when she stopped playing bridge at 95. And she thought she's just not quite as sharp around that table as she should be with all these good partners. But she said to me, regardless of the decade you're in, Carol, every decade brings its challenges, brings its surprises, its blessings. So she said, don't be afraid of growing old, because there's something waiting that only could have happened in your 80s or your 70s or your 50s, or in her case, my 90s, to realize what a blessing that was. And I lived long enough to be able to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And things can happen in your life, like you said, that you have no control over,
Yes.
but you do have control over how you react to it and what you choose to do from then on.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't we change all the time? Aren't we constantly having to reevaluate, reassess? Okay, I only have this much now to live on. Well, how do I reassess that and still have good times? There are so many free things that we just are kind of oblivious of. And we've got a great one with Lake Tahoe right nearby.
Oh, we do.
Especially here. Yeah.
Just take a walk around that lake, or try to
Yes.
walk around that lake. Just go
Yes.
there. It's beautiful.
Yes, and appreciate everything that when you still have good vision, you have good hearing, you have a good heart, you're in generally good health, and you can get out there and be a part of that day. Wow!
Yes.
Spirits really are lifted.
It's a gift.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a gift.
And maybe that's a good place for our to end our program this evening, because we want to encourage and we want to say thank you so much to you, Candace. Thank you so much, Joetta, for being a part of sharing your lives, sharing your thoughts. And we hope that our listening audience has also gained some new insight here and new food for thought, so to speak. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Brand new program, brand new guests. In the meantime, have a safe evening. Good night.